All right, here we go. Here's a video demonstrating how to get energy for flight out of your SAS module, which, as long as you have any power of any kind, is going to work, and it doesn't consume, any fuel or resources, to keep it going, as long as you've got some kind of, electrical charge at all. So the ship is here, already parked on Eve. We've got it parked on a hill, just ever so slightly downward, so that we can just sort of disengage the brakes and pick up speed from gravity. And that's what we're doing. We're just sort of moseying down the hill, picking up speed. Once we hit about 36 meters per second, we can start pulling up the nose and taking off. And there we go. It takes off quite gracefully. And we're in the air. Just sort of tweak our roll and direction a little bit. And then right around, maybe 10 degrees, sort of upward inclination, it'll start, that's where the magic happens. The flapping of the SAS has produced just enough energy so that we don't lose, surface speed, but we're still picking up altitude. Actually, it'll pick up a little speed here. It seems to hover somewhere between 27 meters, 30 meters a second over the surface, gaining about a meter a second in altitude once it's set up right. And there you go. That's pretty simple. Forward power from your SAS. It's hard to say exactly what's going on here, but I think the, having that SAS module sort of, tumbling around there, bouncing the nose of the ship around, and then the ASS is oscillating the control surfaces to compensate, and a little bit of forward momentum, very stable wing design, and just a huge lift of Eve's lower atmosphere. All those forces just sort of interplay to cheat you out just a little tiny bit of forward energy and force, just enough to keep it going and slowly rising. And it'll do this pretty much indefinitely. You're picking up potential energy because you're gaining altitude, that you can always burn off in a dive. It's a really long, painful, boring process. I've let one go for a couple hours or so and got it up to about 8,500 meters before just, I couldn't take staring at it anymore. But play around with it. There's no telling how high it can go. As long as the atmosphere is sufficiently dense, you can get through most of the thick stuff of Eve without burning up any energy. This would probably be a great addition to, the design of a craft if you're trying to make something that maybe can do single stage orbit out of Eve, or, something that could take off from Kerbin, land on Eve, and then return to Kerbin all in one stage without refueling. That would be pretty cool. And, perhaps you could, incorporate this into, a design that does something like that. Or you can just play around with it and slowly glide around the surface of Eve with forever. It might not be the fastest bird in the sky, but she's got stamina, and it's very maneuverable. You can just sort of skim along at whatever altitude you choose, even a few meters above the ground. If you're on the dark side of the planet, flip on the lights, and you can sort of run slow, ominous search patterns. That looks kind of cool. It's probably worth noting, as you can see, the tanks are pretty empty. I think she's only carrying fuel back in those two tanks hooked up to the atomic engines. It flew here straight from Kerbin without getting refueled or anything. So when it hits Eve's atmosphere, it's already a lot lighter than when it starts off. This might not work if it's totally full of fuel. I haven't really tried it yet because, refueling things on a planet is kind of a pain in the ass. And there you go. And it'll keep climbing. I'll pause the video here and let it run for 10 or 15 minutes, and we'll just see what it does. And there you go. It's been running for about 10 minutes, and you can see we're getting ready to break 2,000 meters in altitude. It's actually going a little faster than it was before, but that's going to cap off right about there. That's not going to get too much quicker. You can turn on the time warp, which, because it sort of magnifies all the physical forces being thrown at it, it actually picks up a little more speed and goes a little faster and gains altitude a little quicker. But it does have a slight roll that it picks up, which is made a lot worse when you hit the time warp. So you've really got to be mindful of it. Unfortunately, you can't just sort of set it and go watch a movie or go have a drink, because, you know, every 10 or 15 minutes or so, you do have to sort of tweak the roll, or else it will, you know, kind of go out of control and spiral into the ground. But you keep it relatively straight, and it'll just keep climbing. So there you go. An SAS powered drive. All stock, no mods, no cheats. You know, download the craft file. They'll mess around with it, improve upon it, whatever. Have fun.